In today's world, education is full of debates and problems. There's the issue of what kids should learn and how they should learn it. There's an argument over whether or not kids should have to take standardized tests. There's even a debate over what kids should eat for lunch. But perhaps the biggest battle or problem education leaders face today stems from financing. Many times when people hear about an issue with financing or money in education, they think salary for teachers, which is logical, especially in today's society where we see more and more teachers striking for better pay. Just a few months ago, in September of this year, a group of Chicago teachers went on strike. In the strike negotiations, many things were discussed, among them job security and teacher evaluations. However, the biggest complaint the teachers had was over their pay. This is just one of the many times in history that the question of teacher pay has taken center stage, and rightly so. According to one study, teachers make 94 cents to every dollar earned by workers in comparable occupations. The key word in that statement is comparable. This study did not look at teacher pay compared to other jobs in general. For example, professional athletes make anywhere from $200,000 to the upwards of a few $1,000,000 a year. In contrast, in New York State, which is where teachers are paid the most in the U.S., only $72,000 is paid per year, and in some states it can be as low as $35,000. Statistics like these are making some people wonder where America's priorities lie. Compared to other countries, the U.S. flunks in teacher pay. In South Korea and Germany, starting salaries are roughly 141% of their GDP, or gross domestic product. Yet in America, starting salary is only 81% of our GDP. Obviously, the pay of teachers is an issue America may want to reevaluate. However, it's important to note that many teachers don't get into education for the money. They teach because they get some personal gratification from teaching and helping students. The issue of pay may only really bother a few teachers. Sadly, there's one issue with finances in education that affects all teachers and even students: budget cut. Most educational budget cuts in the U.S. stem from the recession in 2007. However, more than half of the states in America are still cutting education budgets now, 5 years later. Alabama, Alaska, and Washington State are cutting the most, more than $200 per student, and while there are some states that are increasing their funds this year compared to last year, they still aren't back to where they were financial-wise before the cuts began. Budget cuts have a massive impact in the classroom. Teachers have been faced with lower pay, less money spent on their benefits, and even the loss of a job. Teachers are given less money to spend on materials for the classroom, and there's less money for new textbooks. These two things have major implications on children's learning experiences. The lack of materials gives students less opportunity to learn hands-on, and the lack of new textbooks means they may be using books from 10 or 15 years ago. This leads them to missing out on major lessons that have come about in the past few years. This especially holds true of history and geography books. Another problem is that due to having to cut teachers to save money, there are much bigger class sizes. Larger classes pose many problems. Studies show there's a bigger chance of disruption in these rooms. Also, it's easier for students to fall behind and not get caught up because teachers aren't able to devote as much time to individual students. Major impact of budget cuts is seen when schools have to shut down completely. Many small area schools are combining, and this results in a loss of jobs for many teachers and a long commute for many students. I've tried to point out a few of the major financial problems in education. I didn't do this to make people look down on our system. It has many bright spots. I did this because I want people to better understand the problems our schools are facing. I also hope that people now truly understand how valuable teachers are. Obviously, financial problems are large in the education system. However, as long as we as a country don't let the issue of budget cuts be forgotten, we can and will create a solution. We have to. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We don't want our power for change to slip away.